Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Alpha Academy webinar. My name is Chris, and it's a real pleasure today to be joined by Nacho Villoch. Nacho stands out to me for being an independent thinker. He's recognized as a leader in innovation, transformation, sustainability, and brings a real passion and dedication to his work. Over the past 3 decades, Nacho has been helping to drive change in the fields of business development, digital transformation, and open innovation. He's also the author of several books, including The Adventure of Diana and A Brief History of the Future. And he was named by Forbes as one of Spain's top 40 futurists. So what is a futurist? Well, a futurist is someone who studies technical, economic, and social trends. They try to anticipate the future and how it will unfold. It's obviously difficult to exactly predict the future. So instead, a futurist will help to explore possible scenarios that could help companies to adapt or thrive in times of change. Basically, trying to navigate what lies ahead. Well, I first met Nacho last year at the Innovating conference in Cadiz. I was captivated by his presentation and connected his vision of innovation and sustainability to a love of the sea and marine biology. I found it fascinating, the connection and how thought-provoking it could be. After meeting Nacho, I couldn't wait to invite him and share some of his insights with us here at the Alpha Academy. As we know today, the industry is going through decarbonization, digitalization, regulation changes, geopolitical issues. And with Nacho's help, we should be able to see not just the challenges, but the opportunities that lie ahead. There will be questions at the end. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. And now, please join me in welcoming Nacho Villoch. Hi, Nacho.
Hi, hi, Chris.
Hi, thanks for joining us, Nacho.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Thank you very much for your warm introduction. And actually, you have mentioned some of the key words of the key topics of this webinar. You have talked about how to connect innovation and sustainability. You have talked about navigating towards the future, and navigating has to do a lot with ports. It's very well connected with that. And exploring new opportunities. And actually, well, these are the biggest topics I'm going to address. Let me share my a small presentation that will help me to navigate this and to manage the time accordingly.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
it is.
I'm looking forward to it, Nacho. I'll leave you to make the presentation, and we'll come back for a discussion and some questions at the end.
Perfect. Can you see my presentation? Just check it.
Yeah, it's there now.
Okay.
Great.
And yes, and well, this is. I will try to summarize in the next 40 minutes some of the key learnings of the key topics, but mostly I would like to more than give you solutions. I would like to spark up your curiosity, and open your mind to start you to find your own purpose. They say that those who have a why find a way. So we are going to see that we might have many whys, and then eventually as navigators we have to find our own course. So okay, you just introduced me. I will not waste any second and any minutes more in that. You can please check Google or check LinkedIn. But let me just give you a couple of credentials. I am a scuba diving instructor. Besides, or on top of all my 30 years professional career, I'm a scuba diving instructor by PADI standards, and that has given me that provides me the opportunity of being very close to the sea and seeing what is going on under the sea, under the surface, which something is something that is invisible for the millions of people that come to the beaches and go and live next to the shore, but they don't see what is going on under the surface. I finished. I have a master in ocean sciences, in oceanography, in physical, biological, and chemical, which is something that is on top of my other previous life. I am part of Almas Marinas, and it's a foundation in Mallorca that is committed to divulgate to the love and the passion for the ocean, and to teach and educate the future generations. And I will tell you a little bit of some later on how they do it on some projects. And that positive change ambassador is that hummingbird, that colibri. Well, I will give you more details at the end, but how it depends on it very much connects with the attitude we all and every one of us should have toward the future. But I will explain you about this hummingbird at the end of the presentation. Well, we live in a planet ocean. We call it planet Earth because we are very selfish and egocentrical. But as a matter of fact, 75% of the surface of this planet is covered by water. It's covered by oceans actually, and 2% by fresh water. And the ocean is gonna be the solution for energy, food, climate, tourism, life, and we need to get along with the ocean. For centuries, we have neglected it. We have been using and abusing, and it has been a means of transportation, navigation, of discoveries, for key for trading. As a matter of fact, uh, I think it's like 10 out of, sorry, 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 people in the world population live closer than 50 miles from the shore. We rely on the sea for transportation, for food. So and we are not making a proper use of this planet ocean. When we talk about sustainability, let's see a lot. I made some research about the challenges that affect that are related to port management. Just to focus to drill on this webinar. And these are the biggest topics that came out. There are other minor ones, but we can talk about environmental pollutions, energy transition, waste management, climate change and resilience, biodiversity and coastal ecosystems, biodiversity loss and and coastal ecosystems loss, logistics and efficiency, regulatory and compliance pressure, social and community impact. And this will be the first takeaway of this webinar that sustainability is not only about environmental. We tend to believe that we tend to associate um, sustainability with fishing, with overfishing, with carbon footprint, with with pollution. But there is much more of that, and that's something that I will address a little bit. As you can see in these topics, the ESG, the environmental, social, and governance that are affected, that are connected with sustainability. Let's review a little bit of all of these main challenges. Environmental pollutions, we talk about air pollutions, water pollutions, and noise pollutions. And water pollutions, ballast water, and we mentioned specifically the ballast water in how it generated a problem in the Mediterranean shore. I am talking you from Malaga, and probably you have heard. No, I'm not probably if you are in the Mediterranean, the south of Spain, north of Africa, you have heard of and you have seen, and probably you have smelled the Rubulopteris, the invasive Asian, Asiatic, Japanese algae that came in the ballast water of one big tanker. 10 years ago, it happens in Ceuta, and it has spread all over the Mediterranean and invading and destroying the ecosystems. Air pollution, so that picture is very self-explanatory. That connects with air pollution, water pollution. By the way, noise pollution. They don't make the noise. It's only those sea motor sea those speedboats that make noise. The noise of a big ship under the water, that sounds propagates faster and in the under the water. I usually dive in Gibraltar in the Algeciras Bay, and you cannot imagine how noisy it is, even from and you can listen the noise of the propellers of a boat, of a ship that is maybe 1 or 2 miles ahead. And when you have hundreds of those, they are really noisy, especially for animals like dolphins and whales that live in there and they need echolocation. But energy management, well, we still rely on fossil fuels. We still rely on heavy fuels, especially for the big ships, on petrol, on oil and gas. And we are being very slow in adopting renewable energies. And Spain is in a privileged position to use wind energy and solar energy. There are still some challenges: how to store it, how to manipulate, especially how to store it, and how to make it useful for ships. There are already ships with some sustainable energies, but we are being very slow in this change. And of course, there are other infrastructures about hydrogen, and liquid gas that, well, we are working on that, but still oil is still cheap, and and we're oil junkies. Waste management. We talk about a lot about plastics. Our seas are drowning on plastics. We are drowning on our own plastics, and other. Of course, everybody complains about there is any big oil spill, chemical spills, but there are many hazardous activities, and that sadly many of those happens in or near the ports, and sometimes there is by accident, sometimes an incident, sometimes a boat is sorry, say a boat, a ship is refueling, and there is some leaks that are of hundreds of gallons. And then we have all this recycling and circular economy that we have to turn all these waste into resources. We have the climate change and resilience. I don't think there are many people negationistas, negating, denying the climate change. I think it's quite obvious. They still there is some discussion if it is anthropogenic or not, if it has been generated by man activities, or it's a natural thing. It's a cycle of cold and warm weather, but we cannot deny is all the extreme weather events we are seeing we have. Yesterday we had this former hurricane, this Gabriel former hurricane that became a tropical storm, and it's a subtropical storm and arrives to Spain, which is totally off track. But in the last 2 years, in the last 5 years, almost every year we are having one of those stray former hurricanes that end up in our latitudes, and that's mostly because the Atlantic is very, very warm. It's much warmer than it used to be, and you know that tropical storms feed on warm water and hot water, and that temperature is falling. Then the Mediterranean has been this year way over 30 degrees, which is a tropical. We are seeing a tropicalization of the Mediterranean Sea, and that's going to create more extreme weather events. With all this humidity, when it meets a jet stream, or it meets some cold air, we have these danas like last year in Valencia, and the ones we had in Malaga, and these kind of extreme hurricanes, extreme winds, waves, and these type of storms, they are happening. And ports need to adapt and to have strategies to mitigate that, because we also have the increasing of the sea level. That connects with the loss of the coastal ecosystems, of biodiversity. Biodiversity loss is a major issue. Dredging and land reclamation. Many ports are growing activity, which is wonderful, but that has an impact both and below the surface, in mangroves, in sometimes very, very delicate ecosystems, and in some of them there are species that are, maybe because they are very little and tiny, maybe because they are just below the water, and we are destroying all these wetlands, marine ecosystems, and the damage is very often irreversible. I have seen many years ago already. It was like 30 years ago in Cayman Islands, how a big tourist ship was dragging the anchor over the coral reef and created a scar of I would say probably more than a mile, of totally destroyed coral restoration, and they paid a big fine of millions of dollars, but 30 years later, the reef has not recovered. We have logistics and efficiency. Ports and harbors are amazing in managing hundreds of tons of merchandise, 100 million, thousands of hundreds of thousands of containers, and these globalizations, and we are getting all these containers coming in and out from Asia, from Southeast Asia, from China, from Vietnam, from Thailand, going everywhere around the world, crossing the Suez Canal, the Suez Channel, crossing the Panama Channel, going around Cape Horn, and this is absolutely amazing, but with a big carbon footprint. And if these logistics are not very efficient, that increases the carbon footprint, and of course the costs. And well, there are here technology can be a big help in order to manage all this with artificial intelligence and Internet of Things and tracking and blockchain and so on. Social and community impact. Well, we can see this angry man, and well, complaining in the site of this port in Africa. There are health concerns. There are health of they sometimes they lose their way of living by collecting or fishing in the local areas. All the economical development creates is very much unbalanced. And here we are seeing that for instance, this is the part of the social of the ESG. Not we have seen some of the environmental issues now. These are the social issues, they are sometimes a port is supposed to provide for labor, to provide for work opportunities, for job opportunities, but not always happens like that, and not always happens evenly. And then finally, we have all these regulations, these growing regulations. This is the Panama Channel with a bigger burden, especially in Europe, and to comply with these regulations, which is the G of governance. Now we can see environmental, social, and governance, and all the regulatory and compliance issues. And this, please allow me this compass to connect these two main frames of sustainability. We have on one side, we have the SDGs, the 2030 agenda of the United Nations, the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, all these 17 goals with 169 initiatives that, sadly, this was an horizon of 2030. It was a 15-year program, but we're very far off of making them. We are not going to fulfill these targets, these objectives. Well, it began well. There was a global agreement, and most of the countries of the world agree that these sustainable development goals were the way to go. But then we have the pandemic, and then we have the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, with an increasing of many of the cost of cereals, of many commodities. Now we have the war in Gaza, and Israel and Gaza, and well, there are many other things that they are not working. And but some progress has been done, but we need to review it. Probably the United Nations are working in a new agenda because those challenges still remain. And then on the other hand, we have the ESG. The ESG those is acronym for the environmental, social, and governance. And actually we are talking the same language. They are not totally different. If you see all the SDGs, the 13, 14, 15 that have to do with environmental, as well as the 7 and the 8, the social, all the first line of poverty, hunger, health and wellness, education, gender equality. It has to do with social. And then we have all that governance to create all the 16 and 17 to create the partnerships and peace, justice, and all those. So at the end, it's not that they have to choose one or the other. They're very much related. The SDGs are usually a framework for administration, for countries, for cities, and for town halls and for public administrations. And usually ESG is the language spoken by private companies, by enterprises. But the focus is they are converging, and it's not that you have to choose one or the other. Or the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda, it has been manipulated and has been politicized, and when either by the woke of the left or the left side or the right side, and this polarization has been part of the problem and not of the solution. But again, keep the focus. But that's why I show that compass road, that compass that is pointing at it, and these SDGs or ESG should help us to make the right decisions. So I mentioned before the Rhodopteryx. This is the invasive algae. These are pictures of southern of Marbella or Torremolinos or Algeciras or some of the Mediterranean shore that every day they have to pick twice because the tides flow, they rise and fall, and they have even and flow twice every day, and they are bringing hundreds of tons of this seaweed anytime, always, anytime after a storm or small waves, they are uprooted and they end up in the beach. And this is really jeopardizing tourism and jeopardizing because tourists that is the most relevant economical leverage of Costa del Sol. They came here and they don't want to go to a beach that is stinky, smelly, with a brown water, and actually they don't know what to do. And then this is going to require innovation and entrepreneurship in order to manage this problem that began. Let me remember that with the ballast water of a tanker coming from Far East. So somehow port management was part of the problem, and although it was identified 10 years ago, we did not react. I mean, we, the society, communities, authorities, they do not react. They didn't know what to do, and I don't know if they were conscious of what was going to happen 10 years down the road. Hmm. This is totally, you can see that what it began in Ceuta, and it has spread all about southern Spain and going already towards Mallorca and other places. So let me put together these three concepts: entrepreneurship, sustainability, and innovation. We have been talking about sustainability, because these three topics, these three words, they are very often in the mouth of politicians and CEOs and companies, but usually in the corporate memorials, in the books of the corporate PowerPoints, but very seldom on the same page. Sustainability, we have seen what the sustainability challenges, and sustainability at the end of the day is an agreement, is a contract with the present and the future. It's as simple as that. Is entrepreneurship is sustainability is to satisfy the current needs, current needs, without compromising the future generation needs. In other words, is planting as many trees as we are cutting off. If today we are cutting off a tree because we need the wood to make a boat, or to make a table, or to make a chair, or to make a house, or to make a fire, okay, that's fine. We need to satisfy that need. But if we don't plant another tree, a few years later, the next generation will not have that forest. So sustainability is a pact, an agreement, the present with the future. Entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is an attitude of problem solving. When we see a problem, when we see a challenge, when the entrepreneurs identify a market friction, they identify something that is not doing well. The entrepreneurs they design and deliver a solution, and probably making a business out of that. And if they do it well, they will become very rich. So that is mostly an attitude of problem solving, of identifying challenges and build a solution for those. Many people, they'll have those skills, and when they see a problem, they just complain. When they see a challenge, they ask somebody to solve it, but they don't do it by themselves. And innovation is applying two things: something new that creates value. We tend to, another word that we have used and abused a lot. Many people talk about innovation has to be complicated, has to be about engineering, has to be about technology. There might be new technology without innovation. There might be innovation without new technology. So innovation will be the deployment, the design and deployment of new theories, new products, new services, new markets, new management theories, new processes, new procedures that create value. So if we connect all these three value proposals, sustainable entrepreneurship, or sustainable innovative entrepreneurship, will be those entrepreneurs that find, that design, that spot one of these challenges, one of the challenges we just saw before, of those 8 challenges, and they design a solution that satisfies those, that design a new solution that creates value, that will be an innovative solution to solve that problem today without compromising the ones of the future. They will be sustainable, innovative, and entrepreneurs. So the key, and let me make emphasis on this and repeat, is to find solutions, to design solutions for current problems, with something new, with novelty, create value without compromising future generations. So coming with specifically, for instance, with the example I just mentioned about the foreign algae, any solution that is able to get rid, to extract, because I mean cleaning the beaches is okay, but it's just that's just a patch. But a solution that gets is and I don't know what it is, but that is able to get rid of that Rugulopteris seaweed, and with something new, because we don't have that, and is able to use it and to make a profit out of that. And there are many entrepreneurs investigating, many laboratories investigating what can we do with those materials. If we can do fertilizers, if we can do food for animals, if we can do some raw materials that are biocompostable, anything that will be an example of entrepreneurship, sustainability, and innovation. This is nothing new. I mean, I do believe, I firmly believe that innovation and sustainability are the two sides of the same coin. They are strictly connected. So if innovation, if it is not sustainable, will not be innovation. Or we will have a very short runway, and sustainability has to be something new, because if we keep on doing everything, and this is, I didn't say that, it was Einstein that said that we cannot solve the problem with the same thinking we use when we created them. Most of the problem, no, most no, all of the problems we have seen in the previous, all of those challenges uh, that will be opportunities for entrepreneurs have been created by a capitalistic, and I don't want to get into the capitalistic or communist or socialist, by uh, an extracting system elaborated after the first industrial revolutions and perfected in the second and third industrial revolutions. And if we keep on doing the same, we will be obtaining the same results that we don't want. And actually, this quote is attributed to Einstein. It's not by Einstein, but the idea of that will be insane, to keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if we keep on using heavy fuels and oil and gas, and we keep on polluting, we will be having the same problem we have, but augmented. For instance, regarding the plastics, and I will mention a little bit the plastics as an example of waste management. I would say we are taking off many plastics over the sea, but we are pouring much more than the ones that we're extracting. It's like, imagine you have a big pipe of water getting into your house, and you're with a mop cleaning it. Okay, that will be fine, but if you don't close the tap, if you don't avoid more water coming in, no matter how much you take out, you will still have a problem. So, well, I mentioned the regulatories Okumare, the Peterois volitans. This is this dragonfish, or this lionfish that is a big problem in the Caribbean Sea, and it began in 1992 in the Caribbean Sea. Now it's in the Mediterranean, and because the Mediterranean is getting warmer and warmer, it's getting more tropicalized. Well, they are improving, and they are a plague, because they are an invasive species that eats everything they have around. Probably the first Pterois volitans, they came through the Suez Channel, because they are from the Indian Ocean, or maybe they came in the ballast, or some of them, or the larvae, the juvenile, they came in the ballast waters of other ships, and they were not properly managed at the beginning. So I very often about sustainability. I play with the words of SOS, sustainability, because that we need it's urgent, and it's a call of action. Well, this is an example of how these Pterois volitans, how this lionfish has been in the last 30 years populating all the Caribbean. Is remind you, it's an Indian Ocean, from the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and it has colonized, and it's invading all the Atlantic, and because they have no natural enemies and no prey. And now it's in the Mediterranean and spreading very fast. It began in the east, in the near Suez Channel, but it's moving west very, very fast. So this is the so okay, we have seen some challenges. Let's see where we have the opportunities, and let's think about to adapt or to mitigate. That's adaptar as in Spanish, to adapt or to mitigate. Homo sapiens, our species, we are very, very capable of adapting ourselves to every change. We adapt very well to every ecosystem, and that's the key of our success, if we can call it success. That we are 8.5 billion populating the earth, is because we have adapted to live in the poles, in the North Poles, in the deserts, in the rainforests, in the high mountains of Everest, and of the Himalayas. We can adapt, but we are very bad mitigating. We can adapt to everything, but we are very bad mitigating. And this connects ecology. But okay, we're talking about ecology, about environmental, but let me think of how to design these opportunities. If we connect ecology with economy, we write it like this. We can realize that ecology and economy are basically, there are two letters apart. They are the two sides of the same coin. We cannot talk about ecology without mentioning economy, and we cannot talk about economy without mentioning ecology. And if we add technology, and then we see that everything is related. They are very, very well connected. So any solution, any this and oriented sustainability oriented innovation and entrepreneur solution that leverage on economy, business model, on ecology, saving the planet, and technology to make it more efficient, it has chances to work and to be a success. Without if we are missing either the economy, either the ecology, or either the technology, most likely will not work. For many years, we have been talking about to reduce, to recycle, and to reduce, reuse, and recycle. We knew this since the summit of Rio de Janeiro in 1992. So we are for 30 for 40 years talking about this, but not being very, but not talking, but not doing. Now we're talking about repairing and regenerating most of the things. And otherwise, we are going to see the rejection of the customers. And there are many, all these Greta Thunberg generation, many of these Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they are really refusing to do business with companies that are part of the problem. So again, economy and ecology connected and beyond, and of course, doing recycling, reducing, and reusing, but we have to repair and regenerate and redesign, mostly redesign many of our processes. And this redesign connects with the design thinking I'm going to talk now. So everything is connected. So let me mention about innovation, about the exponential technologies. Exponential technologies that 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 will be part of the solution. Otherwise, will be part of the problem. So we are talking a lot about artificial intelligence, which is very good and can help us to accelerate and to augment and to envision some solutions. Here you say the solar energy, the big data, Internet of Things. For example, Internet of imagine all the optimizing the digital connectivity between harbors and ports and device and ships and containers that in order to optimize those smart harbors, blockchain and companies like Maersk, they are using blockchain in order to keep the traceability on all of those containers. 3D print, additive manufacturing to produce locally many things that we don't need to be bringing in containers around the world. So these exponential technologies, they are the outcome or they are the result of this digitalization are going to be part of this solution. Otherwise, we don't have a world or exponential resources. So, and we are growing exponentially. So without exponential resources, and actually we are reaching the limit of the limit of overcapacity every year, and we need to do these technologies to be part of this innovation part of the equation. This to do something new that creates value. These are well some of the cities of the Spanish shores that may end up under the sea because of these increases of sea level. We have okay. I am including this because there are some of these challenges we can adapt to them, but we cannot mitigate. For instance, this is the collapse of the heat belt of the the Enoch, sorry, I don't know how to say it in English, is the Gulf Stream and the big interchange current will be happening, and it is the Gulf Stream and other streams are weakening, and this will be part of a big problem because of the melting of the ice in Greenland. But this is something that we cannot mitigate. So this is way beyond our control. This is something that we will have to adapt. But there are other things that we can mitigate. So and we can mitigate. For instance, it the programs of coral restoration. Coral restoration is something that people are doing already. This is the MODES laboratory in South Florida, where I've been visiting and collaborating sometimes. And where they are developing and they are in the laboratory, they are working the DNA of more resilient coral species that eventually they harvest them and they plant them in the reef, and they are doing a very, very good job. Here is also an example of voluntaries planting and restoring and by the way, a coral reef that has already lost 98% of its life tissue, of its biodiversity. But because it happens under the sea, we are not conscious about that. Now, I have seen these projects also in Indonesia, in Indonesia in Komodo, and in the Red Sea. because either we do that, if we lose the coral reefs, and we are about to lose them, probably we will be killing our oceans, and we cannot live without the oceans. And they have a big rate of success when they do it well. This is a very good example of sustainability-oriented innovation and entrepreneurial activity, that they have identified this challenge, this problem, and they're developing and putting all the means to solve it. Let's focus a little bit on the plastic. And this is more related to hardware. There's, as I mentioned before, we have been using the ocean as our huge bin trash, and throwing hundreds of tons of plastics, and we're still doing that. Thanks God, there are thanks innovation, there are projects like the big ocean cleanup that they have been almost for 10 years already, optimizing and investing in removing all these big plastic patches in the middle of the Atlantic. They are called these plastic islands, which are bigger than countries like France or Spain. The interesting thing is, okay, what can we do with those plastics? And there are companies, some of them doing very well. Again, entrepreneurship, innovation, sustainability, that have found this plastic, this trash. They can make it as a raw material to develop, to reuse it, and to do amazing things, because there are some of these gold fishing nets that are, or many of those plastics that were thrown to the ocean. They are very good quality, and they might have a good life. The problem is not plastic. Please allow me to clear this. Plastic was a great invention. The problem is that the bad use we are making of plastic. But it will be much easier, and as to, instead of collecting, because when this plastic reaches the ocean, it disseminates very quickly by streams and by currents, or it sinks. It's much easier, and this is one of the projects I would like to mention. I think it's a very good example of sustainability, and it's very well connected with harbors, is to avoid all this plastic arriving getting into the ocean. 90% of the plastic in the ocean is not being thrown to the ocean. It came from inland. It came from cities, from inland, that by because of the wind, that plastic is thrown to creeks and to streams and to rivers, and those rivers end up in the sea. So a system like this, the seaward barriers, which is by the way, is a Spanish project, is like filters, these different filters that can be used in the river mouths or in the creeks. They act like they block the plastics, first the bigger ones, then the smaller ones, and they prevent them arriving to the ocean. I think this is a very good example. This is not, I mean, it's a complex problem, but as you can see, this is not a super digital rocket science solution. Obviously, there is a big engineering challenge in order to adapt to the rising tides and to the lowering tides, and to support, and they have to be anchored to the bottom. So there are some interesting engineering design and knowledge, but it's not super sophisticated rocket science. Something that every harbor could implement to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. There are similar initiatives in other places, like Captoplastic and Seven Clean Seas, because because this plastic problem, this waste management, is something that everybody can see it and perceive. So this was just an example of how innovation can be is applying a new procedure, a new product, a new service, sometimes a new technology, but especially is a new mindset, and moving from an ego position to an eco position. Look at how we have envisioned the man as the creator of the as the result of the creation of the world in the Bible, and with that to master all the species and to be the owner of all the world. But sometimes we have to rethink and to redesign our activities as being part of a bigger thing, of being part of an ecosystem, and we are not the owners or the masters of the creation as we were taught by religion. And this echo connects with this sustainability approach. Let me mention design thinking. There are many ways to innovate. As I mentioned before, that who has a why finds a way. We can think of disruptive innovation, and I love disruptive innovation. And when I work as a futurist and in future designs, we use this approach, and we might design solutions, and we might design create a vision with design fiction systems in order to see how we want the world to be in 2040, 2050. Actually, the SDGs agenda, it was a design fiction, but as well as we are a design fiction project, but didn't work, and that can be very ambitious. It can help us to manage our compass and to find the right directions, but at the end we need to do things. We need to do things now. We need to do things, and that is that progressive adaptive innovation. While somebody is working on this disruptive innovation, and we have a hydrogen powered boats, or we have a sail powered tanker ships, and we have some disruptive technologies, and we have already unmanned and big ships that are without crew, and being self-driven like cars or drones, and they are doing this proof of concept, and eventually we will see that. But in the meantime, we need to do adaptive things, to take one small step every day, but taking small steps, but one every day. And design thinking is a very good way to redesign all these processes. Design thinking, I mean, I cannot give you in these minutes a whole course of design thinking, but follow this double diamond or double square, this divergent, convergent pattern, and it's the way many services are designed today. In order to this to map the current problem, to identify, and we have already done that, to create by empathy different tools. Actually, design thinking is a is a set of 40, 50 different tools. Then create many ideas, then converge them, then found those that are that's the exploring part. And then once you have focus on the challenge, and then start building a solution, building a concept, building a prototype, and then testing, and then if it works, implement it. So we will follow a little bit this idea of discovering this of customer need, market opportunity, improvement opportunity, all these different inputs, make an hypothesis, start understanding, and then exploring, designing a MVP as a minimum viable product, and then that validated, obtain data, pivot it, and eventually prioritize, build, feedback, evolve, and scale. So start small, start thinking big, but start small. If you don't start, probably will not happen. And eventually make it grow and scale it up. So this journey of discovering, defining, and delivering is what really is for me the way of designing many solutions. It is not complicated. It's quite easy to apply, and I do a lot of some consulting, but a lot of teaching on how to corporate teams in order to design and to develop this and to implement this design thinking mindset with tools that began with this sort of Kanban boards of what have to be done, what is being done, what has been done, on designing this business model canvas, or empathy maps, or buyer personas, or customer journey. So with very basic tools, but involving the participation of all the team, all the company, you can quite easily to start developing small projects that develop the correct attitude. Says Stephen Hawking that the intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. We live in a world of amazing changes. We are seeing exponential changes. I think we are the privilege of living in these exciting times. And but if, and as it is in our DNA to adapt, and we can adapt, but we also should be able to mitigate. These are the final ideas, and I am just running on time. They say that when winds of change this is a Chinese saying that says that when winds of change blow, while some build walls, others build windmills. I think there is not a poetic way of explaining the time we are living. We are living of winds of change, of winds of climate change, of extreme weather change, economical change, political change, exponential technological change, and all these changes, they are not good or bad. The wind is not good or bad. The wind it is. So is the good sailor or the good navigator that has to adapt the sails and change the course in order to reach a safe harbor, to reach to reach the port. And it might and if the wind is blowing from where you are going to, you have to tackle and upwind and do different maneuvers. But if you know where you're going, every wind is favorable. Obviously, if you don't know where you're going, no wind it is. So I think it's time to with this technological, economical, political, social, climate change, see them as opportunities, as Chris mentioned at the beginning, and then build windmills instead of building walls. I mentioned always this hummingbird, this colibri or hummingbird is the device, is the sign that they give you when you fulfill when you complete a master in sustainability in some business schools, and it tells a story. I think it's a story worth sharing, and represents an attitude. Imagine that the story says that in the tropical rainforest of the Amazonas, like happens almost every year, there is a big fire. There is a big it's on fire. That is destroying everything. So all the animals in the Amazon, they are in a little island in the river, seeing they are paralyzed by fear, by panic, and they are seeing how the jungle, how their home is becoming is dust or is being carbonized. But the colibri, the hummingbird, which is the smallest bird in the world, goes there, takes a drop of water with a tiny beak, go there and put it on the fire, goes back, takes another drop and take it to the fire, then goes back, take another drop, take it to the fire, relentlessly. And most of the other animals are saying that's helpless, that's totally useless. Stop doing that. You are going to get killed. You are not making any impact. You are not making any effect. And the hummingbird keeps on going back and forth on the river with a drop anytime and dropping it onto the fire. And the jaguar and the anaconda and the tapir and the capybara, they are saying that's totally helpless. You are going to get yourself hurt. Stop doing that. And then at the end, the hummingbird look at them and say, "Okay, I am doing everything I can. What are you doing?" So this represents that this idea is that if all of us act as a hummingbird and we do what we can when we can with what we have, then we will be part of the solution instead of being complaining and saying that that's helpless, that's useless. And most of the people are having that attitude when they just throw a plastic and they just forget the plastic in the beach and say, well, anyway, somebody will clean it. Somebody the town hall will do it, will clean, or otherwise they'll be complaining next day when they go to the beach and there are cigarette taps on the beach, or there's a plastic and they say, oh, they complain of this so much garbage, so much trash, and all these theories, whatever, but they are not being part of the solution. So if all of us, we do what we can, when we can, and there are many things that we can do in our daily lives, not only with plastic, with the use of water, with the use of electricity, with the use of public transport, and so on, we can be part of this of the hummingbird attitude. Uh, and, uh, and let me just introduce the idea of finding a purpose. The title of this webinar was Innovation with Purpose. And purpose, let me share with you the term and the concept of ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that is coming from two words, iki, which means life, and gai, that means purpose. So if we can converge what we love, what we are good at, that's the passion, what we are being paid off, being paid for the profession, and being paid for doing what you like, making from your passion, your profession is something really amazing, and you are doing what the world needs. That creates a virtuous circle that is really really worth exploring it. So this, I mean, I noticed that I'm aware that changing the world is really a vocation, is really a mission, and we have some of the things we have mentioned, but that being part of the solution really really makes sense, really pays back, and I hope that many people find their purpose in doing this and enjoying what they love, doing what they love, and what they are good at. And this is the final idea. Probably if you are related to harbors and to ports and to the sea, probably you know Jacques Cousteau. You remember Jacques Cousteau with the red cap? He was the captain, the commander of the Calypso. He was the inventor. He designed and invented the scuba diving the scuba, the self-contained unit breathing apparatus, the one we are using for scuba diving. And he always said that people protect what they love, and people only love what they understand, and they only understand what they are taught. So that's one of the reasons of I have all my ikigai, spreading the word, explaining all these problems, these challenges, these opportunities, this attitude, so I can infect more people with this passion for the sea, and invite them to protect and to be part of the solution. So thank you very much for your attention in this webinar. I left now 10 minutes for Q&A if there are. Anyway, if you don't have any, if you are seeing this offline, you are seeing it a recording session, or please do not hesitate to contact me by LinkedIn or in social media or by email in order to allow me to share my passion for this, for my ikigai, for this protection of the ocean through innovation, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. Thank you very much. I'm gonna left. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen in order to open up this potential conversation.
Hey, thanks, Nacho. You can leave your screen on, and we can talk here. The chat's open. If anyone wants to put any questions into the chat, we'll be happy to take those. But yeah, I thought it was really, really important, the message that you put across, Nacho, when I saw you last year in Cadiz, and I think it needs to get out to more people as well, because like the hummingbird example, we can all do something. We can all help to move the planet forwards and to help with sustainability. And the message that you give is also engaging as well. It's that we don't have to sacrifice development, but we don't have to give up economic progress, social progress, that through the use of innovation and technology, we can find this sustainability, that this kind of equilibrium that we'd love to kind of get to. And there are all sorts of challenges that have to be overcome. And through those challenges, we've got opportunities as well. And it's very clear in the presentation where some of these challenges lie. And people have got so many opportunities to try and build a better future. And they can do it hand in hand with setting up a business and with developing their own technology and setting things up in an entrepreneurial way and moving things forward with their own personal innovation. But just to send a question over to you, obviously it's not easy to innovate in such a competitive market. There are all sorts of other solutions that are out there. What do you think are the biggest obstacles really to innovation, and how do you think that they can be overcome?
I think that's an interesting question, because if we don't identify those obstacles, we will not be able to overcome them, to solve them. There are some of them, especially in the corporate. I've been on corporate innovation for the last 20 years. And usually, there are several syndromes in the corporate world. One is called the Titanic syndrome. The Titanic syndrome. You remember the Titanic, the captain of the Titanic. We all know. Everybody knows that story. He was told that there were icebergs, but he was so self-confident. He was saying that, and there's this sentence that iceberg cannot sink us, and the iceberg did. So because actually sometimes we are seeing just the tip of what is visible, but the big problem is underneath. So that self-arrogance, that self-confidence of a big company, those companies that say, no, we are too big to fail. And in the recent history, we have seen many companies from Nokia or Kodak or Blockbuster or some major banks or some major consultancy firms that they were too big to fail, and they failed. Mostly for that arrogant and staring and keeping going full steam ahead in a world that has changed. So what can you do? Being more humble and to understand that maybe those new things that you have on the radar, those maybe social changes or technological changes, they might affect you and they might sink you. So unless if you have them in the radar, pay attention to that. That will be one. And we are having signs of things that are happening in the future, that some major trends that many companies, they are not just paying attention to those. And we go from environmental to social. Other one will be the short term they're focused on the short term. Big companies, they are focusing on delivering short-term results and then have to deliver results every quarter to the analyst. And if they are not up to the analyst expectations, they might have a punishment in their stock value. So, but there are some of these issues we have seen. They are long-term issues, and focusing only in the long term, focusing on exploiting and not exploring, and
Hmm.
finding this balance. Um, every company has teams in order to improve performance, to exploit the three assets: talent, money, and time. And they have the controller, usually the controller department, sometimes it's a 100 people department. They are focusing on controlling the performance, not having cash flow leaks, or not having operational mishaps, or not having obsolete merchandise, or just-in-time deliveries, whatever. But they don't have teams exploring opportunities, exploring what is ahead, what is happening in the next 2 years, 3 years. I'm not talking about the business development plan for the next 6 months, but what is happening in the next 2 or 3 years with robotics, with blockchain, with with artificial intelligence. It's amazing, but artificial intelligence that everybody's talking about that. It just 3 years ago, it was in November 20th, 2022 is when this ChatGPT came out, and now actually many companies, they are not still understanding what to do with them, and they are making proof of concept, and they are chasing prompt designers, but they are not making profit of that. And then another one, I would say, I call it the bureaucracy Bermuda Triangle. So the Bermuda Triangle, I'm connected it with the port industries, where ships disappear and planes disappear. There is in the many organizations, they have this bureaucracy Bermuda Triangle, that the innovation projects, they just vanish. They are sent up to a committee, and they never get feedback. They never come back. And there's somebody saying, well, it might be too expensive, maybe not now. Let's think about it. And they just vanish. And if whoever is defending that project, if you don't have a professional committed to make things happen with an entrepreneurial mindset and with a lot of resilience, probably if you see that you have the arrogance of the company that is focused on exploiting. They don't want to explore. And if you present some ideas, some projects, it just vanish and disappear. Uh, then is probably would nothing happen. Nothing happened in terms of innovation, but well, probably you know that sorry, digital camera was invented by a Kodak engineer. And when he took it to the board, they said, okay, very good, very, very smart, very creative, but our business is Kodak paper and chemistry and developing picture films. So, and then Kodak a few years later was in chapter 11 and disappeared. So, and happened the same with Nokia. Nokia was the connecting people. It was the super good telephone. And then they knew that they realized that this open ecosystem of Android and the iPad and the iPhone was coming out, but they really rely on their superior technology, and because it was encrypted, and because so safe. But people were not concerned about all that safety. They wanted new functionalities. They didn't see it coming, and Nokia, being at that time the biggest player in the mobile companies, it was bankrupt 2 years later. So we have seen many examples of this corporate short-term arrogance, and that have neglected innovation, that have neglected disruption.
Yeah, so it's very important to maintain a forward-looking perspective, to try and stay in front of the market, but also to tie in that sustainability, and the need to maintain this equilibrium that we talked about between meeting current needs and protecting for the future. And traditionally,
I don't know.
we've seen businesses that can do that and that can adapt, that can move forwards. And some of those examples there that you said, we show things that don't. We don't have much time left, Nacho. I just wanted to ask you just briefly towards the end. Obviously, your passion for the sea and for nature was what brought you into this field a long time ago. And I wanted to just ask, how did you make a career from it, and how did you move through from just being an interest to being a professional, and then being an author, and then the rest of your career?
Well, that question requires will need a very long answer, but but let's say that at the end, after 30 years career in different fields, although it was steering towards innovation, so all my expertise on innovation, I connected with my passion with the ocean, with nature, and actually I made it my ikigai. So I make my profession, my passion, my profession. This is what I like. This is what I enjoy doing. I think I'm good at it, and I do believe that the world needs it. So it's probably it's an attitude. I had some good reference of some good mentors that I follow, and there was a time that I decided when I was about 40 years old that I was not happy what I was doing in the financial industry, in the banking industry, and I found this opportunity on innovation. So I left the business. Many of my former colleagues told me that I was doing a professional harakiri, a professional suicide, but even those that say that 20 years ago, then later they say, okay, you were very smart, you saw it coming, you see that wave coming, and you start surfing it. And then when there were other turmoils in the financial industry, I was not worried about my job because I have already created my own environment or my own way of living. So I think it's a matter of following your inner compass.
Hmm. Yeah, great. Okay, Nacho, well, thanks so much. I was really pleased that we could get you on. I think it's a really important message. I hope lots of people will see this and take it on board, and that for younger generations, they'll move forwards with these ideas. So thanks very much, Nacho, and thanks everyone else for joining.
Thanks to you, Chris, and it has been my pleasure. And you are doing an amazing thing with this Alpha Ship Academy and spreading this spreading the worth of these ideas worth spreading. Thank you very much, Chris and team.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Nacho. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.